I'm going to show you the best way to beat the Illuvium Arena early game today. I've been grinding for a few hours and I've figured it out perfectly. So you're gonna save a lot of time with this and it's gonna blow your mind how many mastery points we will have at the end of this video. So for the first wave, we're just gonna equip our sword and our armor because 120 mastery points, we cannot do better than that. It won't be possible to beat this TNT with 140 mastery points, so that's all we got. And it's gonna be a fairly easy matchup. TNT right here is kind of a nice one-on-one champion. As you can see, he can take a lot of chunk damage off our ranger with his cast, but easy peasy, that was a nice duel. And actually for the wave number 2, we can do the exact same thing. So now we're on to 140 mastery points, building our bankroll. Our ranger has a really easy time versus 2 empaths. They just don't have the damage to out-sustain him. At first it looks a bit rough, but as soon as our ranger falls below 50% health, she will gain attack speed once she's berserker. It's not happening right now, but once she casts her Omega, she will gain also attack speed. So the more Omega, cast she gets through, the more attack speed she gets. So now we need a little bit of help, and we're gonna bring in the lowest cost unit, this Atipo right here. We're gonna place him right there, bond our Illuvials, and start the round. It's gonna be a close matchup. Atipo will finish the Seer, and actually if Seer could be in range to actually damage our Atipo with his spell, let's see. Is he gonna hit him? No, we're good. And even if it's gonna hit him, I think Atipo still wins the duel by 1 auto hit. But this one's gonna be an easy one. Atipo is gonna cast now, blinding the Seer, which means his auto hits will miss and he's not gonna hit us. And it's still kinda close, even though Seer was so low, but we got him. On to wave number 4. This one is a pretty easy one. We just switched the Atipo for this Vermilia. Vermilia is a pretty strong tank for the 40 mastery points that she costs, because she's air and she's dodging a lot of attacks. And we're gonna place them so both of them take damage from each one of the enemies. Actually, Vermilia is taking both of the auto hits, but that's fine. As long as the Sephorus casts while Vermilia is still alive, it's not gonna do too much damage to our ranger, and our ranger will be able to finish off the Sephorus. So usually we would have wanted both of our units to take damage from the enemies, but that's fine. There we go, finished him up. And now we are on 160 mastery points already, and it's gonna just keep building. So now we are versus the Rampfire and Nimble Lynx, 2 rogues. And now it's time to get our Berserker activated. So we're gonna get the Riptorus in right here on the right side. Our Ranger comes right on top of him. We're gonna bond, and we actually gonna remove our armor, so we can get up to 180 mastery points. And our Riptorus is gonna tank the Rampfire, and our Ranger is gonna tank the Lynx. The Rampfire is gonna die before he can cast his Omega. And it looks kind of rough in the beginning, but as soon as the Rampfire is dead, we should be able to just win the one-on-one with our Riptorus right here. He's way stronger. He got 3 fighter stacks, giving him a lot of bonus damage and also piercing through the armor of the enemy. Moving on to wave number 6. Now we're already at 200 mastery points, but wave number 6 is kind of a rough one. Those 2 Atipos, Earth Atipos, they actually disarm you, which is kind of a stun, which is kind of rough. They also have a lot of Earth, and so we need another unit, and we're gonna bring in good old Vermilia to tank most of it. Our 2 damage dealers are just gonna go a little bit in the back, so Vermilia gets most of the damage, and that's gonna be it. That's all we need. We basically, with our Ranger being a Berserker, we just need some time. Every time she casts, she gets attack speed. If she falls below 50% health, she gets attack speed. So if she stays alive till the later stages of the round, she's gonna have so much attack speed, just bashing through the enemies. She also gets lifesteal with every 3rd hit. She heals herself, which is really strong versus empaths, because they just don't have the damage, and she can out-sustain them. It's gonna take a little while, but I'm sure we will be able to finish this one off. Actually, it's gonna be a tough one. Our Riptorus, still a fighter, still a lot of damage, and we should be able to beat him. The countdown is gonna come in soon, so Riptorus needs to do some damage now. Yeah, we got him. That was close. So if we would have positioned our Ranger a little bit to the back, then she would have gotten less damage like this, and our Vermilia would have tanked a little bit more, which would have made it a bit easier. So, next enemy team, Empaths, Nature, and our big threat is the Vermilia. So we're gonna place our Ranger down here. Oh, we also didn't give her the armor back. That's probably why we had some trouble. We can sell the Vermilia right there. We can bring in the Atipo to tank those 2 range units and also maybe the Vermilia, but it doesn't really matter because we're strong enough to beat it with this. Berserker is so strong in the early game. As you can see, 200 mastery points saved up. It's really good. Everybody's focusing the Vermilia. Our Atipo is tanking those 2 guys. He's getting 1 second of a cast out, giving our units more attack speed, which is actually perfect timing. And now our fighters have an easy time versus the 2 remaining Empaths. Really, Vermilia was the only big problem we had. So, by the way, are we lag free? Are we buttery smooth? We're looking good. Nice. So yesterday I figured out what I want to do. I want to bring more value to you guys, and that's why I don't want to do like just first wave of the day and see how we go. I mean, we're still gonna do this, but this brings really value to you. I've spent the hours grinding it out, really figuring out the perfect way to beat the waves, and you can save hours of doing this, of figuring out all the small little details of the early game. So what we got here, biggest threat Blaze Knight on Seer. We're gonna ignore Seer for the beginning. We're gonna bring in our little Vermi. Look how small she is next to him, but she's gonna tank him for a while over here. And our 2 damage dealers are gonna focus on the Blaze Knight. We don't need to bother about the enemy rogue because he's just gonna run around in circles till he meets us. And that's gonna be it. It doesn't really matter. Our ranger, we are at 220 mastery points right now, which is huge. Usually I try to stay around 120 if I don't like figure out the early game as good as I did today, but I had a lot of fun doing it. So here we are. Blaze Knight is dead, couldn't even get a cast out. Our Vermilia is tanking forever. He's tanking a full Seer cast, a full Seer spin, and our ranger now with the extra attack speed, being a Berserker, he's just gonna shred down this Seer. Nice. So good so far. We're gonna move on to wave number 9. Let's see what it is. Alrighty, not too bad. A lot of Empaths, as long as we focus one target and not give them the chance to out-heal our damage, we should be good. So what we're gonna do here with the positioning, we're gonna position the Ranger closer to the Fur Knight right here. So she's gonna be targeted by the Fur Knight, and our Riptorus is closer to the Adorius. So hopefully our Riptorus is gonna be attacked by the Adorius, and our Ranger attacked by the Fur Knight, splitting the enemy damage, giving us more sustain, more possibilities to out-heal. We can sell our Vermilia right here, downgrade to the Atipo, just to bring in a little bit help, otherwise it doesn't work. And he's just gonna occupy the Vermilia over here. Let's see how we go. We are on 266 mastery points, doing great, trying to get up to 300, which is insane, by the way. This is gonna help you so much. Then in the mid game you can start to like just over invest a little bit and bring in more and more units, just to be sure you are winning the rounds, to not lose any lives, because you will have so much economy stacked up that it doesn't matter if you overexpands a little bit in the mid game, because in the late game at one point you're just gonna have a full board and nothing else to spend anymore. And if we figure out the early game really good, this point where you have everything you need and you cannot buy anything more, it's gonna come way earlier. So this one was a little bit tough one to figure it out perfectly, because they have a lot of natures and empaths. If the enemy only has like 2-3 empaths, it's okay, but if they have like 3-4, and it can get a bit tricky, sometimes they out-sustain your damage. So what I did was I bring in Ramfight right here. We're gonna place him right there to land here, so he hits the Archelion with his Omega. Our Ranger is gonna tank the Atipo, our Riptorus is gonna tank the Fur Knight, and now we just need somebody over here to distract the enemies. And we're gonna go with 50 mastery point units, the Bulwark right there. That should be enough. So we're down to 200 mastery points, which is still a lot, but we had to invest a little bit more just to be sure to really beat this wave. Because as you can see, very soon they're just gonna heal against our damage. So the Ramfire burst damage It's gonna really help us get through them. Also, it helps a lot that we are fire. Our 2 main damage dealers are fire, so they're both hyperactive right now, giving them extra damage, extra attack speed, and we can just shred through the enemies. Perfect. Really nice. I mean, you know, maybe there is 20 mastery points that I could have spent less in there. I don't say it's like perfectly figured out, but it's like I've tried a lot of different scenarios, and this is the closest I could get to a perfect run. And now 11 is kind of tough too, because I want to not spend too much money, but also beat the wave, you know. So I have a little screenshot that I'm gonna use so I can remind what I did. So basically we're selling those 2 guys. Our 2 damage dealers should be enough when we just need to occupy those 2 other units. Our Vermilia is gonna tank the ramp fire right here. It's crazy, huh? Vermilia can just take on the ramp fire. Crazy world. And our Atipo, all our Atipo wants to do is get this this Scion Lynx to cast. That's his big goal, because if he casts on our 2 fighters over here, we're kind of screwed. So that's all we want to do. We have 280 mastery points, kind of a lot. Rampfire right here, once he hit 60%, he's gonna be untargetable. Okay, so Dual F dead. Perfect. The Lynx cast his spell. Now he was untargetable. Our Riptorus running away from the AoE damage, and we were able to finish up the Rampfire. Like, I was so happy when I figured out exactly this position and composition, because everything works perfectly. The enemy Lynx just casting on the Atipo last second. Our Riptorus dodging the Rampfire cast. It was beautiful, and it is beautiful. So for this one, this was also a tough one. So the next few waves are a bit tough. I only wanted to go to wave number 10, but actually, as I saw that 12, 13, and 14 are really hard as well, I'll try to extend it a little bit and try to show you a little bit more what I'm gonna do. So we're selling this. We're gonna get in the Singe right here to tank the 1-2 rogues that are coming down here, and our Atipo right here is gonna help the Singe so he doesn't get blasted too fast, so he gets a Omega cast out. We're gonna focus the Fur Knight and the Adorius, and we're also gonna get in a ramp fight to help versus all those natures. We're gonna go hyperactive very fast once again. I think that's it. That's all we need. 228 mastery points. And let's roll it. Let's see how we do. We want to do the positioning again like we did last time. I think it's pretty much the same still, but we want to position Rampfire, our Riptorus a little bit closer to the Fur Knight, and our Ranger a little bit closer to the Adorius. It's a really, you gotta be hex perfect here. You want to be just over the half here, and yeah, maybe one more to the left. It's a tight squeeze. Can we get it in? There we go. Let's see if it works out. Splitting the damage between those 2 guys. Yes, they're both getting damage, which is fine. Riptorus is tanking a little bit more from the Arcalion and the Adorius over there. But so far it's going really good. Our Singe will be able to spin in the 2 assassins. Our Rampfire is hyperactive, casting right now, and now we're doing damage. The enemy damage is kind of done. Arcalion dying pretty fast here, and it's gonna be a tough one. It's gonna be a tough match. I think our Ranger will be able to... Oh, there comes the heal. That's huge for them. So our Ranger needs to win this 2-on-1 now. This goes... The last time I tried it, it went way smoother. But Ranger 1-on-1 is really good. As long as he can... Oh, there we go. We got hit. That's alright. We're just gonna try it again. And this really shows you that little bit of positioning is gonna change so much. Because I've tried this many times and it never failed. But luckily we have the checkpoint at wave number 11. So we can recreate this really, really fast. Wave number 11, what do we do? Oh, that's the best one anyway. I want to see it again. So we got the Atipo over here in the corner. We got the Vermilia down here to tank the Rampfire. And our Riptorus is gonna tank the Dual F. Let's roll it. Once again, look at the Atipo just triggering the cast of the Lynx, which is perfect. And also our Riptorus dodging the Rampfire Omega. Zack, there we go. Ramfire goes up in the air, gets untargetable. Everybody is running away, dodging it. Well played, guys. Well played. So this one I'm really stoked about. And remember, we have almost 300 mastery points saved up. So if this wave number 12 is giving you a little bit trouble, throw in another unit, throw in another 50 mastery points. It's really not the right time now to be stingy if you're playing on yourself and you don't want to spend so much time trying this over and over again. But we're gonna try it again right here, and hopefully we can figure it out this time. So those two guys go down here. I think maybe the positioning of those two was a little bit off the last run. Then we're gonna move here with you. Basically, I'm trying the same thing right now. And then we would sell Vermilia. I wonder why it didn't work out this time. Anyway, bring in the Ramfire. Right about here. And that should do the trick. That should really do the trick, and we'll have a look. Actually, let's position our Ranger maybe more to the over here. And he can actually tank the Fernite and the Adorius, because our Riptorus is already having Adoredo and Arcelion on his blade. So we're gonna split the damage a little bit nicer, and hopefully this will enable us to kill the wave. Once again, like if I wanna be sure to really pass the wave, I just slap on an augment, because there's not much missing. If you wanna be sure. Fernite goes down, pretty nice. Riptorus needs to sustain himself now. There comes the Ramfire Omega. It looks like the same thing is gonna happen again. It looks even worse this time. Oh, actually this time we're focusing Vermilia first, which could be huge. There comes the heal, but Vermilia might not be... Look at that attack speed. Oh, that's beautiful. Vermilia was not able to cast, and now this one-on-one should be easy. We're getting a lot of attack speed from this cast. There we go. Beautiful. Not as I expected it to go, but we did it. And I think 220 mastery points right there is really the maximum we can go. Alrighty, on to wave number 13, which is a tough one as well. Because they just have so many natures. That's really a good source of sustain for them. So what I did last time, I will show you. We will still keep the Singe in here for the rogues. We're gonna remove our Ramfire right here. We're gonna bring in the Scoriox. And now we're transitioning more into our late game composition. So with the Scoriox, bringing in more tanks, probably a Titanor, and there's really a lot of good late game units right here. And because we have such a good economy, we can bring them in very, very soon. Our Ranger would go here, and our Riptorus would go here. And then right down here, I would have an Ador helping. But I didn't like the Ador last time, so we're gonna change it up a little bit. I think we're just gonna overinvest a little bit to make sure we beat this wave. Alright, like the last time what I did was this. Without the Atipo right here, this was my placement. And we managed to beat the wave by one auto hit with the Scoriox left alive. And then when I tried to reproduce it, I couldn't quite do it again. So this time we're just gonna make sure that we beat the wave. We're gonna put in this Atipo. What we could also do instead is actually bring in this augment, which reduces the attack speed of the enemies, which would be really good versus the assassins coming in here. That's what we're gonna do. Sell the Atipo, bring in this guy. Oh, server time. I wanted to put the other radio on the other side to tank the Malura. But it is what it is. I'm sure it's going to be back very soon. That's a really good thing about Illuvium, especially for me, because sometimes I have unstable internet and a little lag doesn't kick you out of the game right away. Yeah, as you can see, Ador right here is getting obliterated, so it would have been better on the other side tanking Malura. But as long as our Scoriox stays alive for a while, we should be fine. Our Singe is actually spinning this time. Last time he wasn't able to do that, so this augment really helped him a lot. And now Scoriox is gonna blast through those guys. He's doing AoE damage, and as you can see, it's enough. That's what I mean. It's super close already, even with the addition of the augment. So that's a safe way, and probably the most mastery points you can have by doing it this way right here. Alrighty, we're on to wave number 14. And that's actually how far I grinded. Now we're transitioning slowly into the mid game. We have 200 mastery points left over, which is great. Let's analyze the enemy team. We have 3 big assassins here. So that's a big problem, and our Singe will have to handle this. We could upgrade him if we want to invest a little bit more. We could upgrade him into a Seer. But with Seer, I feel like you need augments on him to really be strong. So let's find a good positioning. We want to stay here. We need a bit more tanks in the front line, and I think we're going to transition out of our fighter composition right now. Bring in the tanks. Titanor is really a late game champ. Sometimes he's a bit underwhelming, especially if you don't have Granite. So maybe we're going to bring in a Vermilia. He's going to reduce the attack speed of the Scoriox, help with the backline damage. And then we need more tanks to help with those assassins, because Singe will not hold them alone. Also, we're gonna move out the Ador, because there's nobody really who he can tank easily. I think we're just gonna bring in the Seer as an addition, but that would be a lot of money. But that's okay, we want to beat the wave, right? So we can put in the Axodon right here to face the Rampfire on the left side. Then we put the Singe out of range of the Rampfire Omega. And then we bring in one more dude to help the Singe. So now we're down to 140, but that's totally fine. Like, if you... That's the hardest part for you. To realize the enemy's strength and build your board accordingly. So if you know they're gonna be really, really strong, you just want to overinvest a little bit. We're down to 140. But if we beat this wave, we can just let it roll. We don't need to invest. I'm sure we can beat the next wave with this exact same composition. We might even be able to sell a little bit. So, as we see, it's not like a extreme overwhelming win for us, but it's pretty good, and we could have probably maybe not put in the Vermilia, for example, and we could experiment with this a little bit. So now we got a lot of bulwarks, so that's good for our Scoriox. What would be nice right now is this augment right here, where we pierce the physical and energy resistance versus the tanks. Piercing the armor is really good. We're also going to give him attack speed and energy damage, because every third attack inflicts clumsy on the enemy. We don't need our assassin right here. We just need to make sure we survive long enough for the Scoriox to deal crazy amounts of damage. Probably it's best to focus the Titanor first, because if we do that, we might be able to kill him before he gets his Omega off. Otherwise, he's gonna shoot an Omega into all of our units, which is really not the best way. There's also a lot of assassins coming in. So our Singe is gonna stay right here and pull as many units as he can. And then our Axodon is gonna be off tanking next to the Scoriox, and our range is gonna be main tanking right here. I think that's a pretty good setup. We're on 214, and let's just roll it and see how we go. Alright, right. Again, if I wanna not play it again and keep grinding, I will just put in whatever. Like, I put in one more unit, another tank, and we're good. But I want to stay around 200 mastery points, and I think we might be able to beat this, because they don't have a lot of damage. The assassins are kind of countered, and they got 7 bulwarks. That's it. And we got a lot of bulwarks ourselves to keep them at bay, while our Scoriox is hopefully blasting through them. So what's going to be really important is that this Titanor falls before he casts his Omega, and we're looking good on that. Actually, the enemy assassin is already on our Scoriox, but now we're going to turn around and kill him, hopefully before he gets his Omega out. But as you can see, we couldn't hold up to the enemies, and we should have invested a little bit more. One more tank more, and it would have been probably enough. Also, another augment on the Scoriox could have helped a lot with the damage. And yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Should we... Where are we? Are we on 15? Oh, we have to start on 11. That's it, that's all. I wanted just to show you the early game. As I said, if you really want to get high up in the waves and not want to bother too much, you gotta figure out the early game good, because then you can really invest in the mid game. And yeah, I hope you have fun with that. I hope that helped you. I see you tomorrow. Have a nice day. Peace out. Bye bye.